If you're thinking about using a Ladybird deed or a transfer on death deed so that your estate can avoid probate someday when you pass away, you need to watch this video. Sometimes they backfire. They're not always the magic wand solution to fix every situation. I'm a Texas estate planning and probate attorney, and I want to tell you a story from a real case that I worked where one backfired. There was a family, there was two parents, two children, and as soon as the son was old enough to leave the house and enlist in the military, he did. He ran off, never spoke to mom and dad again. Daughter kept a strong relationship with parents, was close, cared for them all the way until they each passed away. So they went and did Ladybird deeds so that the house would pass to her once they pass away, because they didn't have a relationship with their son anymore. That was their decision. Well, they did, and daughter came to me and said, I can't get into a bank account and I need access. So we had to file a probate to get in the bank account. I'm sure they intended to do a beneficiary designation, but they just didn't get around to it and it failed. And because we didn't have a backup solution like a will or a trust, we had to go to probate court to get that sorted. And that's not the worst part of the story. It gets worse. So once we filed with the court and said there was not a will, we had to determine who the legal heirs were for the parents. And that'd be the two children. And so we had to notify the son that they had passed away and that he was entitled to half of the assets. And he was still upset about whatever happened during his childhood. So he showed up and made things just a living hell for the daughter. They fought in court and spent so many hours making each other's lives miserable. I got to the point where the fees I was having to charge to represent them exceeded the little amount that was in the bank account. It was just a disaster. I ultimately withdrew from representation because I told my client, you're spending more money than you stand to gain here. I can't morally represent you any further in this. But she still wanted to fight her brother still wanted to fight, and so I backed out. They spent more on attorney's fees than they stood to inherit. And this whole disaster could have been avoided if the parents had done a will that said exactly how things should be done. Son couldn't have come in and said that he's entitled to anything. Or even better, they could have done a trust and avoided probate court, said exactly how they want everything done, and the case would have never had to have been filed. The son would have never needed to be notified. She could go in and get access to the money and use it for herself and not have to spend it on attorneys' fees and court fees. So that's just one example of how a Ladybird deed or a transfer on death deed is an incomplete solution for estate planning. And these days, there's such accessible options for estate planning. There's no good reason to just do a Ladybird deed. At TexanWillsandTrust.com, we offer a comprehensive trust plan to avoid probate court and avoid problems like this happening for only $249. That's very affordable. So tap the link in our bio. It'll take you to TexanWillsandTrust.com. Check out the Texas Family Will and Trust Plan. It's a comprehensive estate plan, has a trust, it has a will that works with the trust, as well as a whole suite of power of attorney documents for incapacity planning. And all of that is only $249. And it's all Texas specific. This is not generic like other websites. These are documents that I drafted as a Texas attorney to work in Texas. So if you don't have an estate plan, or you were thinking about just using a Ladybird deed or a transfer on death deed, you really need to get that fixed. Go to TexanWillsandTrust.com today and get your estate plan.